continuing through 1, 3, 4, this exercise is pretty neat. I think it's cool. Tapers they look neat, and they do serve a practical application if we were to mold this or make this in a kind of like an ice cube tray sort of situation. It's going to get stuck if it doesn't have what's called a negative taper. So with a negative taper, it basically can pop out, whereas if the walls were flat, it can sometimes get stuck. So I'm going to do a new polygon. It doesn't really matter which one you're doing. I'm going to go about 3 or 4 inches. Either one's fine. They're using a pentagon. There we go. And then I can finish this sketch, go at an angle. I'm going to extrude this about a ½ inch. There's no dimensions on them, but they do tell you -45° taper. So as far as the base goes, we just don't want to go too much smaller than 3 inches because then it's going to be too small to do anything with. So that's the negative taper. Kind of makes it go in. We could do something like that with a loft, but there's a little bit more going on to make it a loft. We want to go up again. So I can actually just extrude the face that's right there right away. And I'm going to give it a small negative taper because the concept is it could be 3D printed or 3D modeled and used as a injection molded part. And we can talk about injection molding in class. So now I got to create a loft to go up to a different level, and this next level is going to be a circle. In the construct dropdown, we can use the first option of offsetting a plane right from the top there. And I'll bring it up. I don't know, how far does it look like they bring it up? ½ inch looks good. Okay. So now I will sketch on this top plane. Make sure you've selected the top plane and not something else. So now I'm going to make a circle of no particular size. It's just going to be somewhat smaller than the pentagon that is there. Starting to feel like that's not centered. So the goal was to have this centered. So let me do something just to see. I'm going to do project that. Project geometry just brings something from a lower level up. So I'm not 100% sure that. Okay. All right, so now I've got this pentagon in there. Because if I touch on that corner, it's not touching on those corners. So that's not centered. So let me cheat this, and maybe I'll figure out what I did wrong at some point. But so that line going from the base of one to the top of the other, in theory, the center of that line should be dead center. So I just went back through and kind of redid back up to this point. If you find that you can't get the middle, because this middle on this new sketch for some reason isn't right, and this is just what's happening to me as I'm recording it live, I'm just going to go from the middle. These are just lines from the middle to one side, middle to the other side, where they intersect. This works, and it's not that I want to go to the edge. I want it just centered. So I can just click there. That's all I wanted. I just wanted this to be a centered shape. So now I'll say finish sketch. It's just a ½ inch up from that. And now I'm going to do a loft. And we've done lofts before in our 3D space. So I want to go from that to the circle. Whoops. Well, that did not quite. Just gotta make sure I'm selecting the circle parts. There we go. You can also delete, if you have lines in there and you delete them, they'll go away. So that loft looks better. And then just continuing this up and giving it a slight taper. So if it was to be created, it would fall out of a mold. I will say okay. Okay. So it wants us to make some patterns on the top. It wants us to use a -2° taper on these holes that we're putting in there. Now there's a difference between a hole and a negative extrusion. I'm going to use negative extrusions. So I'm going to make one hole in the middle, and then around like a top, maybe there, I'll make a slightly smaller one. I'm going to do a circular pattern. So my object is going to be that one, my center point. What's cool is if you just click the circle, it'll do it. And I want 5 of these, because I'm going to negative extrude them all at the same time. So that's my pattern. That's on top. Finish the sketch. Let's extrude all of these down at the same time. So they're going to go in partially. Let's give it, they said -2 degree taper. So nothing's going to get stuck in there. That one goes down part of the way. Again, this is, I'm sort of skipping some steps here a little bit, just to get to kind of how you're going to create the fabricated part or the modeled part. So then I can say, okay. So now I've got this shape. Those are not holes all the way through. They are negative extrusions to do that. Now they talk about shelling it, and that is, let me just see if they give you a shell thickness. All right, I don't see. Yeah, I don't see sign telling you a thickness, so we're just going to make a shell. Oops, that's a modify thing. Sorry, modify, shell. I'll click on this surface here. We just need it to be, I don't know, 0.1 based on our size. That works. And it's going to create, so that's going to give the walls and floor to those objects so they're still there. If we did this in a different order, shelled it, then cut those out, those would just be straight out holes. And this is supposed to hold like pencils or drill bits or something. So we want them to have a bottom. And then once we've got that, I'm going to ask my students to put your initials on one side. Mr. Levine. If you want to make the text bigger, you can make it bigger on this. This is not what I would ever use to write an essay. Did it get any bigger? There we go. Maybe move it right there. I'll extrude that out just slightly. If I cut in, you can cut in or you can cut out. If you cut it in, just don't cut a hole in it. 0.05. So it's going to go out. Cool. Now, if we were injection molding this, this would pose a problem. But since this is mostly just so it's got your initials on it. And then like the other ones, we're going to go into render, do appearance. We can make this out of something neat because why not? Can I make like a chrome version? No, but I can do mirror. Metal. Well, at least I thought I could. I'm going to make it out of gold. Perfect. And then just make sure I can see your initials. Render in canvas. Just make sure I can see your initials. That's why I kind of rearranged the view. And then you can submit the screenshot of your rendered gold-plated drill bit holder or whatever material you want to choose to use. And then just screenshot that, turn it in. And that is the second part of 1.3.4. Thank you.